My name is Morgan Riley, and my presentation is called Impression Formation, A is for Attributions. Did you know that we only get one chance to make a first impression? Have you ever wondered how impressions are formed? Well, impressions are the process of which we try to perceive another person and we ultimately come to a final evaluation or interpretation. The reason why we need to know this is because we need to know what's going on in the other person's mind as we meet them for the first time. And impressions are formed through attributions. The reason why you should listen to me on this is because I create and receive first impressions every time I work at the store. And I have 4 sources to back up what I have to say. So my main point in this presentation is that attributions are in person, and that there are errors in attributions, and that there is such a thing as over-attributing. Attributions occur in person. Attributions is the process of trying to explain a person's behavior through motivation through their behavior. So Frisk and Taylor, which was cited in Garlic, say that, first off, a person's behavior is important the first time you meet them. Frisk and Taylor, cited by Garlic, say that a person's features when they are in person are important because you create a certain model and you expect the behaviors to come from that model, like from then on when you first meet them. And that watching a person's behavior is also a large contribution to attributions. Hyder, which was also cited in Garlic, say that behavior swamps our perceptual field, and swamp our perceptual field, and that it causes us to have the fundamental attribution error. So now that I've brought up the fundamental attribution error, let's start to talk about the fundamental attribution error. So it is possible that there are errors in attributions. So the fundamental attribution error is when we overvalue internal qualities rather than thinking of, and undervaluing external situations. And so the fundamental attribution error comes from the information that is first available to us. Taylor and Frisk, which is cited in Tao or Papierman, say that we focus on the person because they are there in front of us, because the situation is not presented when we run into that person. And we can overcome our errors in judgment by asking what's going on and correcting our thoughts of the behavior. So if I am late to a meeting, that person may want to say, oh, it's because Morgan is just late and she doesn't care about time or being punctual. But in reality, it's because I got into a car accident. So once I explain to the other person that I was in a car accident, they should be able to correct their judgment by not thinking that I don't care about punctuality, but rather than, oh, Morgan was late because she was in a car accident. So now that we've talked about errors, why don't we start to talk about over-attribution? So over-attribution is the tendency to single out 1 or 2 characteristics in a person and attributing everything about their personality because of these 1 or 2 behaviors. And over-attribution comes from trust. So when a manager is working and there are 2 employees, if the manager trusts one employee and knows that they are internally motivated, meaning that I just like to work, I like to get money, they won't supervise them as much. But if this manager doesn't trust another employee and knows that they are externally motivated, meaning that they are only working because they don't want to get fired, they will monitor and supervise that employee more than the other one. So that is a situation where over-attribution is a thing. And what that blurb that I just mentioned comes from Riccolo and Tenholm in their research on managers and employees with over-attribution. And there can be prevention for over attribution, which is knowing and being aware of the external factors of everything that goes on. Is that a person's behavior and personality is based off of lots of others external factors. So now that I've gone over everything about not everything, but most things about attribution, I just want to recall the main points that I talked about today. So attribution occurs in person. There is such a thing as over attribution, and that there are errors in attribution, and that impression formation comes from attributions. So just so you know, you only get one shot to make a first impression, and that you don't want to be caught over contributing or making errors when you attribute qualities to another person.